Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and got Kim with me today as the camera person, and we have got another on the water video for y'all today. Last week we did our first one, talked about it last month. We were going to be doing one on the water video every week. Did the one last week on winter bass fishing, and you guys loved it. We had almost 25,000 views on it in a week. So we're back here at Table Rock Lake. And guys, today I'm going to give you an on the water wintertime jerkbait lesson. This is what I love to do. This is, Missouri Ozarks here, wintertime bass fishing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys, first of all, we're going to get out there. I'm going to show you how I like to work a jerkbait in the wintertime. And then we're going to go over the lake and I'm going to show you the type of areas that I like to fish in as far as the areas we look for, and think it's going to add up to some good fish for you guys. Also, guys, one quick update I want to give you all. We're getting ready to start a live stream here on Intuitive Angling, and the live stream is going to be for Intuitive Angling channel members and Patreon members. So if you guys would like to be part of that live stream, like I said, probably we're going to do the first one in about 3 weeks. Just go to my YouTube homepage, hit the join button for information on membership. We got the Patreon information in the link in the description, and looking forward to having you guys part of that live stream. So anyway, we're going to get out on here. A little bit foggy this morning, so let's get out there. Only on about a 2 or 3 second. Oh, he's going to, I can't believe that fish jumped in this cold of water. He was just on about a 2 second pause. A lot of people think that you got to really let that jerkbait pause a long time in the winter, but you don't. It's, even in clear water, a little bit shorter pauses is really all you need. There we go. We got blacktail on him. That's typical in the winter time, having a blacktail. Again, guys.
Can I get a picture?
Megabass trick darter. Get you some at the Tackle Warehouse link I put in the description. They freaking love that bait in the winter time. Yeah. He got it really good. Nice tournament fish. Okay guys, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the baits and how you want to work a jerkbait for wintertime bass fishing. And then after that, I'm going to get out on the lake here and I'm going to show you the type of areas that I like to fish. And there's quite a few different type of places that fish get in the wintertime that you can catch them jerking that don't involve forward-facing sonar, just traditional bass fishing. So first of all, let's go over the baits and the tackle and how you want to manipulate this bait, because cold water bass, their mood and their behavior is different than other times of the year. When you got water temperatures in the 40s and 50s, the metabolism of the bass changes a little bit. They don't really, they're not like a snake or a turtle where they get completely dormant, but they do slow down a little bit. And how you want to work a jerkbait has a lot to do with the combination of the water clarity and water temperature in correlation with each other. But the baits I want to use are pretty key here. It's going to make a big difference in how many fish you catch. First of all, the only thing I use is Megabass jerkbaits. You guys know that. I helped design the Megabass Vision 110 back in the late 90s. I do not use the 110 in wintertime fishing. This is a 4.5 inch standard size jerkbait, but the ones that I use is I downsize in the wintertime. Now this is critical to catching bass in the winter, and there's 2 different ones I use. One is this Megabass X80 trick darter, and the other is the Megabass X Nanohan Plus 2, which I forgot the box, but I'll just tell you what it is. These are finessey jerkbaits. They're a little over 3 inches long. I'll link both of these guys in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video if you guys would like to pick a couple up using my link there. But you want to go to a downsized jerkbait. The combination of the slower metabolism, the colder water temperatures, the general mood and the personality of the fish, you'll get 10 times more bites on a finessey bait like the X80 trick darter by Megabass than you will a full-size one. Let's say, for example, we both went fishing, and one of us has got the Megabass 110 on, and one of us has got the X80 on. Whoever's got the X80 on in the wintertime situation is probably going to catch 5 times more fish than on the 110. Now this is especially important as the colder the water gets. Once that water temperature gets down in the 40s especially, and especially if you got clear water, like water visibility over 4 foot, that's when the finesse jerkbait is going to work. Now, you couple up this with light line. One of the big keys on it is you got to go light on your line. I use 6-pound test Seagar and VizX fluorocarbon line, and I use a spinning rod 100% of the time. Megabass medium action, 6'11", and just a good quality 3000 series spinning reel. And the purpose of this, and if you guys have heard me talk about jerkbaits a lot, you can manipulate a jerkbait and you can put action on a jerkbait with a spinning rod that you cannot duplicate on a bait caster. The biggest advice I'll give you guys for jerkbait fishing in the wintertime or any other time, never use a bait caster. Go with a spinning outfit 100% of the time. I can promise you guys, if you're out on the water lesson with me and you use a bait caster and I show you how to use a spinning rod, you'll be begging for a spinning rod by the end of the day. You can just do so much more with the bait. Okay, now we're gonna get up there. I'm gonna show you exactly how to work a jerkbait for wintertime bass fishing, so let's go try that. Okay guys, now I'm going to run through the whole system on how to work a jerkbait for wintertime fishing. Now there's a couple other things before we get started I want to really reiterate. First of all, it's very important in the wintertime that your jerkbait sinks. You don't want a jerkbait that floats up, and you don't want one that suspends. You want one that slow sinks. So the way you do that is you can either put some suspend strips on the bottom of your jerkbait or put maybe a little bit larger hooks. And I like it to sink probably about, I don't know, a foot every 10 seconds, just a nice slow sink, because what that does is it allows you to control the depth of the jerkbait, and it acts as like a wounded dying shad sinking instead of floating up, which is really critical. And then also guys, make sure when you're using a spinning outfit, never use your drag. We talked about this before. You need to learn how to back reel like this, because what happens is if you get a bass it's like hooked by one barb of the treble, you can put a minimum amount of pressure and you can control it a lot better with back reeling than you can with the drag. So just learn to back reel. Okay, now the first thing you want to do is, it's very critical in the wintertime to get the maximum depth out of your bait. So how you do that is a combination of your casting distance and the light line. So I've got 6-pound test line, and I want to make sure that I make the longest cast possible, because by getting the cast longer, it allows my bait to get down deeper and stay deeper longer, which is the sweet spot. Now, on any jerkbait cast, you have a sweet spot of about 20 to 30 feet where the bait is at its deepest part. This is when you're going to catch your quality fish. So the longer cast that you make, the longer you have in the sweet spot. So I'm going to run you through how I like to fish it. So first of all, I'm going to make the longest cast that I can, and then I want to get the bait down. Now, when I want to get the bait down, I'm jerking it harder than I'm going to be working it. So I jerk it about 8 or 9 times, 8, 9, 10, something like that. Now, after I've jerked it about 8 or 10 times, the bait is down pretty close to its depth that it's going to be. So once it's down there, I'm not going to jerk, pause. I'm going to pop it just gently like that, let it sit, and then I'm going to vibrate that rod tip. Just look at my wrist right here. See how my wrist is vibrating? It's actually, I'm vibrating that line on a loose line. And I do that for maybe 8 or 9 times, and I'll pop it gently like that, let it set, and I'll vibrate it again like that. Let it set, pop it again, vibrate it like that. And I'm paying close attention to my line, because most of the time the strike is going to come when you pop it down like that, or when it's setting still, you're going to see your line just tick with it. So let me run through that again. I'll run through it as more of a real world cast here. Long cast. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just let it set for just a little bit. Shake it a little bit. Pop it. Let it set. Vibrate it a little bit. Pop it. Vibrate a little bit. Pop it. And that's my cast for the wintertime fishing. Now, I'm going to repeat that throughout the course of the day. And sometimes you may have to slow down a little bit. Sometimes you may have to speed it up depending upon the mood of the fish. If you have colder, more off-colored water, say for example that water visibility is about 3 feet and the water temperature is 45, then you may have to slow it down more. And if it's cleaner, say the water's like 4 to 5 foot of visibility, water temperature is closer to 50, you don't have to pause as long. You can speed it up a little bit more. So that's how we do it. Now let's get out there. I'm going to show you what to look for, the best jerkbait structures on the lake here. This feels like a pretty good fish. Pretty heavy.
Is it? What do you think it is?
It's either, this is either a big one or if it's a foul hooked on one of the two.
Uh-oh.
There he comes up. Man, this feels like a nice fish.
Do you have a net?
Man, it's heavy. I can't bring him up. It's super heavy. Oh, it's a foul hooked one.
Oh.
Oh, it's still a nice fish.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, that's that Megabass X80 trick darter I was telling you guys about. Nice, really nice, solid tournament fish there. Well,
About how big was that one?
probably 3 1/4 or 3 pounds.
Oh.
Okay guys, let's talk a little bit about that last largemouth I caught on the X80 trick darter. Sort of explain, because it came on a really good wintertime type of a point here, and there's a lot of points like this. Now this fish came off of a flat rounded gravel point here. Now points are different in terms of how they slope into a lake. Some of them, you know, have a gradual flat slope, some are a little bit deeper, and in the wintertime they can be on about anything. But I'll tell you one thing about it, a lot of it depends on the species of fish you have in a lake. If you have a lake that's got a good mix of largemouth spotted bass and smallmouth bass, they tend to really like these gravelly type points. You know, they're prime location for it, especially if it's in proximity to deeper water. Now, that particular fish, you know, the water was 20 foot deep, you know, where I had that bot, or where the boat was. I was making a 45-degree angle cast to the bank, so I'm guessing that fish was probably in about 10 foot of water. But right over my shoulder over here, you've got like 50 feet of water. So this point right here that you see right there is very close to deep water. And that's what you really want to look for in wintertime fishing, is that proximity to deeper water. And another thing about it is, don't feel like you have to fish deep. Here it is, we're in the second week of January. That fish was no more than 10 foot deep. Water clarity right here is probably 5 or 6 feet. So that fish probably was on the bottom in about 10 foot of water, came up off the bottom 2 or 3 feet to hit that bait. I think one of the biggest misconceptions a lot of people have with jerkbait fishing is these fish have to come out of deep water to hit a jerkbait, and they're suspended deep. But every lake has a couple different populations of fish. Now, a couple different types of populations of fish. Now, the creek we're in here, see out in the middle of the creek, I mean, this is where the spotlighters are going to be. And there's going to be a population of fish that live out off the bank, roaming and chasing shad. Probably the majority of them, 75%. But there's always going to be 70 or 25% of the fish up shallow, even in the middle of winter. So we're, like I said, we're dead smack in the middle of winter right now. That fish was in 10 foot of water in clear water. That just goes to show you that they will go shallow in the wintertime. Okay guys, here's the first structure we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about points a lot, different types of points, because they are prime wintertime jerkbait areas. Now what this is a rounded main lake point. And if you look at it here, it doesn't even really look like a point, but it is. There's the main lake out there to your right. And then here's the creek arm going back in here. So this is a main rounded point. Now, a lot of people would overlook something like this simply because it's not a defined point. A lot of people think, of points of a piece of land that comes actually to a sharp point. This is a rounded point here, and this is a prime wintertime jerkbait area because it offers an area where the fish can move and roam. You know, as you can see here, you know, it's 37 feet deep here. It's actually about 80 feet behind me. You got immediate access to deep water. So what I would do on a situation like this, I'd start, you know, about right there, and I'd work about probably 100-yard section of this rounded point leading back into the creek here, and just slowly and methodically work through there, depending upon the water clarity. You know, right here we're in about 5 foot of clarity. It's 36 feet, so this would probably be the distance that I would stay away from the bank there. I'm going to be looking for these fish to be suspended in about 10 to 20 foot of water on this specific type of rounded point. Okay, now here's a wintertime bass fishing structure that you will catch your biggest fish out of if you have this type in the lake, and that is either standing timber like this or submerged timber. Now, we're on Table Rock Lake today, and Table Rock has a bunch of standing and submerged timber. Also, other lakes across the country, guys, like, you know, Lake Hartwell, South Carolina, Lake Lanier. There's a bunch of places that have that. These are places where you're going to catch your biggest fish at, because it doesn't matter if the timber is actually standing like this or out deeper. You can have some submerged timber, but if you're in an area where you have either standing or submerged timber right here, try to get that jerk bait as close as you can to the timber. If you think the tops are like 10 feet underwater out there, try to fish it over the tops. If you have visible standing timber like this, as you can see right here, this is a good example of a cedar tree in the water. You can see the branches down there pretty easily. Try to get that jerk bait as close as you can to those cedars, because those fish, it doesn't have to be cedars, it can be hardwood too, but those fish will suspend along these trees in the wintertime. Again, based upon the water clarity, cleaner the water, the deeper they're going to be. But if you do have a lake that has submerged or standing timber in it, fishing this jerk bait over the top of that is a really good way to catch big ones. Okay guys, I just showed you a main lake point. Now we're going to talk about a secondary point. Now, main lake and secondary points are by far my two favorite wintertime jerk bait locations. And right here, we've got a really good example of a nice secondary point. Now, again, the difference is this point is located in a creek arm, and it can be a cove arm too. That's what differentiates main lake and secondary points, is their proximity to the main lake or a creek. Now, bass love to get on these secondary points because in a major creek arm like we're in now, they live here all year long, and you can catch a bunch of fish on it. So what I like to do is I'm going to show you how I approach this. I usually stop about 50 to 100 yards before the actual point end here, and then I work around the other side. And what I like to do is get my boat out 20 to 30 foot of water, depending upon the water clarity, and I'm going to saturate this whole area with casts. I'm going to, you know, 45-degree angle straight in. I'm going to cast out in open water, you know, just trying to get that jerk bait down in as, you know, as many areas that I possibly can on this point. So a lot of times they can live all over it. You know, you might catch some fish, you know, 50, 100 yards from the point. Sometimes they may be right on the end of the point. A lot of it depends on time of the day, depends on the wind speed, wind direction, sunlight angle. And like I said, you're fishing to find fish. That's the great thing about this. And that's one of the reasons that I don't use, you know, a lot of the, you know, forward facing sonar and the technology is I don't want to know what's on this point. It's like, I want it to be a mystery. It's like, you know, the anticipation of not knowing if there's one here or not is just like something that I really enjoy. So I'll just work nice and slow and methodically around here. And another thing about fishing a jerkbait this time of year is once your jerk bait starts coming up, like, you know, once you've maxed out your depth and the bait actually starts coming up, I go ahead and reel it in. I don't even waste time with it. And I'm really concentrating on getting that bait in that maximum part as long as I possibly can. And I'll just slowly work my way around through here till I get to the point of the point itself. Now, one thing that I found about a lot of point fishing with the jerkbait is the fish don't necessarily get right on the end of the point as much as they do the sides. The sides usually offer a little bit sharper of a drop, and you'll find out in wintertime jerkbait fishing, they like to be on vertical structures a little bit more. So that's why the sides tend to be a little bit better with that. There's another good example. You can notice right across the cove over there. That's another little secondary point leading out here. Either one of those, really good places for fish. In fact, that little point right there actually looks better than this one. But you got to fish them all, man. You just don't ever, know which one's going to have a fish on it one day than the next. You may pull up here today and not catch one on this point, and pull in here tomorrow and catch one, because these fish just move up and down these creek channels almost like a highway. Get on to the next spot here. Hey guys, here's another quick example of what I'm talking about. Good example of what I'm talking about the submerged timber in a lake. Now this is submerged timber, you can see right here, coming to about 15 to 20 foot from the surface. Now if you see this on your 2D sonar anywhere on the lake, make sure you try to fish that jerkbait over the top of this submerged timber. You see this tree right here? It's growing out of about 45 or 50 foot of water, coming almost to 15 feet from the surface. This puts it in a perfect depth zone for a jerkbait, because that jerkbait we're fishing today is going to be running about 10 feet, and those fish will suspend at the top of these trees. So anytime you see something like this, make sure you try that jerkbait over the top of it.
What do you think it is? Oh, it's just a little guy. Oh no. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, here's another one of my favorite wintertime jerkbait locations, and that is a channel bank. Now this channel bank can be located on a creek arm or main lake. And what identifies a channel bank from just a regular rocky bank is the proximity of this bank to deep water. Now, right here, we've got a steep bank, steep rocky bank, 45-degree angle, maybe even a 60-degree angle. You got the creek channel right here. Now, this would be a good area. A lot of people would throw like a crankbait parallel to this. This is an excellent type of a bank to fish a jerkbait on. Now, what I do in this particular situation, again, it depends on the water clarity. I'm going to get my boat in anywhere between 10 to 20 foot away from the bank here, and I'm going to make long parallel casts straight down the channel bank here, and I'm going to target sort of that 8 to 20 foot zone. If the water clarity is like it is right here, 4 to 5 foot clarity, these fish are probably going to be in 15 or 20. But these channel banks are just like we talked about before. They're like highways that these fish move up and down. They don't get a lot of pressure, and just cover water, parallel these things, and just fish every one of them you see. And most of them, most channel banks come to a point at some part. You can see up there, way up there, that's a point, and that's going to be a high percentage area, but don't overlook just these straight sections of channel banks like this. Another really good wintertime jerkbait location, if you have them on the lake that you fish, is boat docks. Floating boat docks like this, especially if you've got some clean water that have some depth under it, is a really good location, because the bass will love to suspend underneath these docks in the wintertime, especially on the outside here. Now, the thing that I do here is I position my boat just like this to where I can get a long parallel cast down the outside, the very outside face of that dock. I try to get that jerk bait as deep as I can down the face of that dock, and those fish will suspend anywhere between 5 to 20 feet underneath them, depending upon the water clarity. Now, these are especially good if you have cables going off of them, because a lot of these docks, they're connected by, well, you can see when we get up here, you can see this cable here. They've got cables that are connected to big, heavy concrete boulders that sort of keep them in place here. And a lot of those times, those fish will like to suspend around these cables that go down. There's the cable, apparatus you can see right there. But boat docks can be really good places for the wintertime. The last wintertime jerkbait place I'm going to show you guys today is what I call a ditch or a gut. You probably heard me talking about this before. This is very common, especially back in the eastern part of the country, like Lake Hartwell, Lake Murray, those type of lakes, Clark's Hill. And a gut is just like you can see right here. It's the middle of a cove towards the back end of the cove. Now, what happens is these fish will move back into these ditches or guts about 2/3 of the way back into these coves, and they'll either get on the bottom or they're going to suspend all winter long. And what I like to do is I like to come back in the cove until I hit about 20 to 25 foot of water. And then what I do is, like right now we're in 25 foot, I'll make a long cast right down the middle of the gut, just like this. And I'm just going to work it, straight down the middle, just like that. Now, a lot of times, some of them may be in deeper water, 20 to 25 feet. Some of them may be in 5 to 10 feet. Try to keep an eye on any type of bait fish schools on your 2D sonar. That's a good indication if there's going to be many fish there or not, or any type of underwater structure like brush. But what I like to do is just get back in here and just slowly work my way, back into the cove until the water gets about 10 feet deep. Once that water starts to get about 10 feet or so, probably not going to catch a lot. And I'll throw off to the side sometimes too. I don't have to throw like right in the middle. Sometimes I'll throw at a 45-degree angle. And this is a really good type of place to catch a school of fish, because a lot of times those fish on the points may be little wolf packs or individual fish. But I've seen situations back in these guts where you'll pull in here and you might catch 10 or 15 out of one little school that are suspended up, chasing some shad around. So that is a prime area, especially if you have a lake that has, any type of like blueback herring. Blueback herring lakes are notorious for these ditches to be working good. So let's get on to the next deal. Just grab the lower lip real tight, real solid. Nice. That's a big smallmouth.
What?
That's a big smallmouth.
Is it?
It's a good tournament fish. Trick darter again. A nice fish there. I'm gonna go ahead and unhook this smallmouth for Kim here. Got both hooks in. That's a good sign that you got the right bait. X80 trick darter, big table rock smallmouth. Okay guys, really appreciate y'all tuning in for the video today. Hope you guys learned a lot about jerkbait fishing. And one of the things you have to remember about jerkbait fishing, if you struggle with it, you're not alone, because jerkbait fishing is the most difficult technique to master in bass fishing, because a jerkbait doesn't really have much action by itself. You can't just reel it in and catch fish. I mean, you might occasionally, but you've got to impart the action. You got to put the cadence on it. You got to get the right color, the right profile, the right rod, the right line. You got to throw it in the right place. There's just a lot to it. So I hope today sort of broke that down a little bit for you. What do you think about it? I definitely want to thank Kim. Kim was the camera person today, and it's so nice to have somebody helping out with the camera. So I do appreciate that. But so, what's your analyzation of the day?
It started off pretty slow. We weren't catching much of anything at first, but I did notice when the wind picked up and the clouds came in, like I've heard Randy talk about before, we did start catching them then. So overall, I would say it was a successful fishing trip.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, because one of the things you'll notice about jerkbait fishing, it's very wind oriented. It's like you can fish through an area that doesn't have many fish in it if the wind's not blowing, and they'll look at that jerkbait and they'll get that far away from it, but they won't commit to it. But I noticed we didn't get a chance to fish very long. We had to drop Elijah off at school on the way down here, and we had to head back early, so we didn't get to fish much. But I noticed the very first one we caught, that largemouth, the wind had just picked up. And then, when Kim caught that nice smallmouth, it had clouded over. It got a lot cloudier. And that's really important in the clear waters, the wind and the clouds. So, I mean, you didn't like fishing out of the back of the boat.
One thing I want to say is I definitely feel for Randy's co-anglers. He definitely knows how to position the boat to where you don't catch fish.
Well, that wasn't intentional with you, but a lot of times when you're in the front,
I think it's just built in you.
Well, you get so focused on what you're doing, you forget about what's going on behind you. But yeah, it's a different world from the back of the boat as far as the angles and all that type of stuff. So anyway, guys, appreciate it. Hope you guys are enjoying the on the water videos. If you like this video, man, just like it, share it, comment on the videos, drop comment. And also, guys, that X80 trick darter that you saw in the mouths of all those fishes today, Tackle Warehouse link in the description to that bait. It's got a bunch of good colors. There's not one color that's better than the other. They're all good. So appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next time.